everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and turn on your post notifications so you don't miss any of my uploads. I post a new video every Monday, and I also host weekly reading sprints on my channel every Monday at 5 p.m. PST. So if you ever want to click in and read along with us, you're welcome to do so. As always, all the books that I'm going to be mentioning is going to be linked in the description box, along with links to all my social media, my Amazon wishlist, and my coffee. And I'm super excited to be filming this video today because I'm going to be talking to you about how much I love Wings of Ebony by j.elle. Ever since I got this book on the book release, I knew I wanted to do a book review on Wings of Ebony by j.elle because it is absolutely stunning. The story behind it is absolutely amazing, and this is an own stories book. I was definitely sold. This is actually one of the books that I have included in my new channel series called Say Yes to the Book. If you haven't checked out that video yet, it'll be linked up here and in the description box below so you can watch it after. But I'm so excited. I finished it, I read it, I tabbed it. Now I get to share all my thoughts on Wings of Ebony and hopefully get you all to pick it up as well. In this video, you'll also see me add small vlog clips that I did while I was reading this book, because there were definitely moments that I wanted to sit down, highlight, film, and talk to y'all about while I was reading it, so y'all can see my genuine reactions to some of the scenes in here. Another reason why I wanted to review this book was I was absolutely in love with the way j.elle did her book release and her book tour, because every copy that was pre-ordered was actually matched with a donation to an inner city student. I absolutely love that idea and that mission and goal, and I really hope that all the kids that did win a copy absolutely love this story. Being an inner city kid myself, I definitely resonated with that mission and that goal, because there were so many times when I wanted to have a new book, or there was a new book release and my library didn't have it, or I couldn't go buy it because it was way too expensive. I'm already starting to ramble, so let's just get into the video. So let's talk and feature our many endings. If you don't know what Wings of Ebony is about, or you just saw it in your library or your bookstore and you're thinking of picking it up and you want this video to help you make a decision to buy it, Wings of Ebony by j.elle is about a girl who has found out that she is half human, half god. In the story, the main character, Rue, is taken from her home in Houston because she found out that she had ancestral blood that made her a god. And when she's taken from her home in Houston, she leaves her mom and her sister, and she's taken to this world named Gizon. Now, Gizon is a place where all other gods are residing, and another notable thing about Gizon is that there is no one aside from her father that is black. Now, at this point of the story, Rue's mom has actually passed away, and her younger sister that she left behind in Houston is now growing up, doing her own thing. The book actually starts off with Rue breaking the #1 rule in Gizon, which is not to return back on Earth, or your hometown especially. However, Rue decided she wanted to break this rule completely because she hated her life in Gizon and she just missed her family. More so, the day that she decides to go back onto Earth is actually her mother's death anniversary. That doesn't stir the pot enough. The day that Rue comes down back on Earth to celebrate her mom's death anniversary and to pay a little visit to her sister, something happens that basically starts off the entire book. And you're gonna have to pick it up in order to find out what happens. Now, in this book review, I'm gonna be talking about all the things that I liked, all the things that I disliked, important concepts that were covered, the writing, the world, the characters, and then I'm gonna give you all my overall rating of the book. So before I break down the book, I just want to preface that if you're new to my channel, I am highly comfortable with reading YA fantasy, and I actually gravitate towards the fantasy genre in general. So Wings of Ebony is definitely a book that was up my alley. Although recently I've been gravitating towards more adult fantasy, Wings of Ebony is definitely a true YA fantasy. However, I will say that there is strong language in here, so if you are a young reader or you're planning to give this book to a younger reader, I would just be highly cautious of the language that is in this book. However, what I will say about Wings of Ebony is that if you are new to the fantasy genre or you've never read a YA fantasy before, this is a great book to pick up and kind of get started to trickle into the genre. The world building in this book is not too complicated. The language is not complicated at all to follow along. Characters in this book are also very relatable to other teenagers, despite the main character being half god and half human. And there are topics explored and discussed in this book that are really great for any teenagers to read, but also generally for anyone to read. Wings of Ebony has a total of 360 pages, but as you can see, the text is relatively large, so it is quite an easy and fast read if you ask me. Personally, this book took me about 4 hours to complete, and I was reading this in between other books. So if you are that reader that likes to read multiple books at a time but don't want to get confused or don't want to forget anything, this is a great book to read as well. But okay, let's get into the plot of Wings of Ebony. As I mentioned, this book takes place in Houston, but it also takes place in a world named Gizon. Gizon is where all the gods reside, where they have magical powers, they have different groups. Similar to what we would think a country or a state would look like, that is also kind of how the world of Gizon is ruled. In the States, we have the president. In Gizon, we have the chancellor. In the States, we have armies. And in Gizon, we have a general who kind of rules over or makes decisions on behalf of the chancellor. And then we have the people that reside in both places. Now, in this book, you're going to be taken back and forth from Gizon and Houston whenever Rue or any other character decides to kind of go back and forth. I thought this was a super interesting component in this book because we were able to see kind of two different sides. We got to see their differences, but I think the most interesting part was how we could see the similarities that exist in both these two worlds, despite the drastic differences in that humans don't have powers. While I was reading, whenever I was in Houston, I definitely felt the feel, the atmospheric city life. Anyone that Rue was seeing, I was also seeing. And I really enjoyed the relationships that were built between Rue and the members of the community in that neighborhood. Then when we were in Gizon, I really enjoyed the magic system, the caste system, and how different people with different powers played a role in making Gizon what it is. However, what I will say is that because I'm so invested in different worlds and the world building and the magic system, something I thought that could be a little bit more pronounced was the actual world building and explaining more of the nuances that occurred in Gizon. However, this is only book 1 because I believe j.elle is going to be releasing a sequel to Wings of Ebony. However, don't quote me because I saw it on Twitter. I don't know if it's accurate, but if it is, j.elle, I'm super excited for book 2. But I say that to say that being that this is j.elle's debut novel, I thought it was super well done. I thought the world was great. And I think considering the plot and the storyline that occurs in this book, the snapshot that we get of Gizon is pretty okay. Which brings me to the section in the book review where I tell you about how much I absolutely love every single character in this book. Another thing about my reading taste is that I'm super drawn and super invested in characters, and it's a really big reason or decision maker in how I rate my books. Because I absolutely adore every character in Wings of Ebony, even if they aren't the best character in that they're evil, but I digress. Because I think each character in this book and in this plotline have such an intentional role that I can seriously appreciate j.elle constructing everyone and the relationships to Rue, as well as the overarching story. Like I said, this is a YA book, and Rue is definitely in her teenage years, and so are the other characters, and I think something that really made me happy, and let me tell y'all, I was definitely laughing so many times along with the characters when I was reading this book, because it felt like I was talking to my friend, or the ways I would talk to my friend, or how I would even engage people. I'm 22, so I'm not a teenager anymore, but I remember these days where I would get into little arguments or things would be totally blown out of proportion, and it's so minuscule looking back now. I think those moments that Rue has definitely just tug at my heartstrings, because definitely experiencing new things, new beginnings, new ends. I really love that development. Not a romance in this book, because this is definitely solely based on Rue's experiences and her choices that ultimately lead to an end. However, I really love the moments when she shares she's getting butterflies, or someone's making her smile, someone's just genuinely making her happy, especially when she wasn't experiencing that much happiness when she was in Gizon. And the number one thing that I absolutely loved about the characters and the relationships in this book are definitely the friendships and the loyalty that everyone has towards one another. Really big theme in this book, or at least something that I definitely took away, was the sense of loyalty. And in this book, the phrase ride or die comes up a lot, and I honestly live by that. I'm definitely a ride or die friend, and I just love that Rue and the people that she surrounds herself with are also those types of people, and they're willing to stick their necks out for each other in order to support and love and learn. And I just loved reading about that. Speaking of learn, there are definitely parallels in the storyline and the story itself that relate or bring up discussions about race, society norms, society structures, microaggressions, prejudice, and segregation. And I think what j.elle does really well is that she incorporates all of those really big themes and important themes into this storyline so beautifully. She gives her characters grace in that they're young, they're still learning, but also we should still stick up for what we believe in and be unwavering in the front of injustices, violence, and hateful thinking despite who it is. Towards the end of this book, there's a very large part that has just resonated with me for a while. It's been a few days since I finished it. I wanted to take some time to just sink in the story, let my thoughts sit before I give you all my full review. In these past few days, whenever I thought about this book, I keep thinking about this particular scene, and I absolutely think it's so important. It's this moment where two friends kind of reach a very stark decision in how they're about to go about the way they are. Difference in perspectives, in beliefs, in experiences that make them bump heads to a point where they don't know if they're gonna even be friends after this. I think that moment stuck with me because it's such a growing moment, not only for the characters, but I think for everyone else in this world, that we need to be open in unlearning different perspectives, unlearning different ideas, histories. I think j.elle did such an amazing job showing how that process of unlearning happens, especially given the fact that these are teenagers. Once y'all get this book and once y'all read it, y'all will know what I'm talking about, and you're welcome to come back to this review and comment. Don't spoil anything. Tell me what y'all thought about this particular scene that I'm talking about. But that brings me to j.elle's overall writing. I think she's an amazing writer. Her language and the way she words things together are so easy to read and so quick to read, but they pack such a full punch in that there are so many themes and so many underlying messages that are laid in phrases that she puts in. I love tabbing my books, and there are so many moments where I loved quotes, or I would write down comments because I was like, oh my god, this quote is amazing to describe so many different things, and I tab them all. And I know I've been talking about all the things that I love and adore about this book, but as you can see, there are also a lot of blue tabs, which also signal times where I was mad, when I was sad while I was reading this book. Although this is a fantasy, this story definitely has a very large discussion on very important topics such as racism, segregation, violence, white privilege. It's told in a way that allows for that contrast to happen between these two worlds and that make it parallel into what our reality looks like. And when I say our reality, I'm talking about the injustices and the anti-blackness that happens on a daily basis. And when it got to particular scenes, they were definitely hard to read because, especially being a woman of color, knowing the experiences and knowing the instances where Rue just gets so frustrated to a point where she can't even utter the words that she wants to say, or the moments where she felt an overwhelming sense of hopelessness. I think j.elle does a really beautiful job in showing the different sides of Rue, and if you're someone who really enjoys seeing the different thoughts or decisions or how a character comes to decisions, I think you're really gonna enjoy Rue. Like, my voice is kind of cracking already because I'm thinking about all the things and all the scenes that I just had to take a break from, because wow, j.elle definitely knows how to pull at your heartstrings, okay y'all? Since I mentioned that, here is a clip of me while I was reading one of the scenes that kind of tugged at me, and y'all are just gonna have to watch it because I think my reaction kind of sums up how I'm feeling about this particular section. Hey y'all, so it's been a while since I updated or vlogged anything for Wings of Ebony, but it's currently 10 p.m. and I'm on Mel's sprints, and I've been reading Wings of Ebony all day because I told y'all I wanted to finish this book tonight, and I just got to a chapter and it really is making me emotional, and it's sad. Because there's a moment where Rue has to come to terms with herself and determine her self-worth and her capability, basically her will to not only survive, but survive for the people that she loves, survive for everyone before her, for everyone after her. And I think it's such a powerful moment, and it's really pulling at my heartstrings because, especially as a woman of color, a black girl at that, it's like holding the weight of your ancestors, your community, all the generations that come after you. It's just that burden that you bear, and it's not that you need to bear it, it's that you have to bear it, because that's just how resilient black women are, and that's what I'm hearing. And I think what is making me so triggered, or not triggered, but is really resonating with me, and at least in this story and in this chapter right now, is that there's a moment where she's like,
I'm useless, like people like me never win. Then she goes in this revelation and kind of talking to herself and saying, you know, I am capable, I am worthy, I'm the child of generations of magic, I'm the daughter of parents that love me unconditionally, that put me in a position where I could have this power. It's just resonating with me so much in real life because that's just facts. Like, especially what I love about this book is that it deals so much about your community and particularly your neighborhood. So I'm just really feeling this book and I'm just so attached, and I just think it's just so wonderfully done, and this book is so good but also just so gut-wrenching, I think, because it's just so real.
Wait a minute. It's literally been like 2 seconds since I made that freaking video, and now I'm just crying because I can't read this right now. Like I just can't. Like, this line right here is actually killing me, and yeah, I have no words. I literally have no words.
I hope I didn't make y'all sad, because I definitely was sad during that moment, but I think more so I felt empowered, and I think the story that Rue and j.elle shares is something so important and so in tandem with so many important themes and conversations and discussions that we should and shall have. I honestly cannot recommend this book enough, which leads me to my overall rating. I ended up giving Wings of Ebony by j.elle a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now y'all are probably like, why the 4.5 if you love it so much? I love this book. I will always recommend this book. I highly recommend this book. I'm making this video so I can tell all of y'all to pick up this book and read it. But the reason why I gave it a 4.5 was because I did wish I got more parts of Gizon or learned more about it. Just enjoy a little bit more world building in my fantasies. And I think because Gizon is such a different world that I haven't been exposed to, I wish there was more of it, but that doesn't detract from how much I love this story, because if I'm solely basing this off the story itself and the writing, definitely 5 out of 5. But this is an honest review, and I wanted to tell y'all, because if y'all have similar tastes to me, and if that's what y'all be looking for in books, I want to share that as well. So overall, if you love a book with amazing characters that are super loyal to each other, who like or would like to love reading about magic and magic systems, discussions on community and family, a book that will make you laugh so many times but then also make you cry, this is definitely a book for you. Seriously, y'all, please go pick up this book. I absolutely love it. Tell me in the comment section below if you're gonna pick up this book, what part of this book you're super excited for. I'm seriously invested to know. But that is all from me, y'all. Again, don't forget to like, share, and comment while you're down there. Y'all are so amazing. Happy reading, and until next time, bye y'all.